All right. We're here. We're live. How is everybody doing? Spidey is Rictus. Chase Hughes, the legendary member of the behavior panel, is with us. And Chase, I know I've told this story before. A lot of people don't know this, but you are the reason I have a YouTube channel.
Yes.
Specifically this channel.
Yeah.
Now, in order to give my guests some pause, in November,
Eric, can you just put Chase in the bottom left corner? Is it throwing me off? Can you just switch him with you? I can't even look at him up there. What is he doing up there?
This is like the behavior panel. People get so mad when I have them on. They're like, "You got the order wrong. Stop it! Stop it! You're killing me."
It's not Scott Rouse. Put him in the bottom left corner. This.
I know. Here. If it makes you feel better, okay. There. So, what am I? So, no, here. I'm Greg Hartley now.
Yes, I like it.
And you're Scott Rouse.
I'm Canadian. If you were to switch me and Rob, there we go. We're good.
There we go.
In Canada.
Okay. Anyway, November of 2019, Chase reached out to me and said, "Hey, man, let's do a video together." And I was like, Chase, I don't do that. Chase, I'm a podcaster. Chase, I have a face for radio. And then what was it you told me? Or do you remember?
I have no idea.
You're like, yeah, no, dude. We'll get some wine and we'll just I'll come over and we'll get some wine and we'll just do a video together. And then the day finally came and you wound up training, I think, at Fort Bragg or something. And I was like, dodged the bullet. But in January of 2020, I was like, everybody's talking about this live streaming thing. Got a hold of StreamYard, brought you on the show.
Yeah.
And thought, well, you know what? Chase has got a huge following. I guess I could do this. I don't have to do a ton of research ahead of time. We did it. Everybody's amazing. Show went perfectly. And that started the channel. I thought, hey, this is going to be the easiest thing ever. All I have to do is do a show, have the right guest. People are going to show up. I'll just respond to the chat. No problem. So I had Viva Fry the very next week. And about 4 or 5 people showed up. And nobody said anything in the chat. And I found out I have to actually work to do this. But the channel was launched because Chase Hughes wanted to have a video and some wine.
And some wine, which we never got.
No, we haven't got that. One of the biggest ironies is that Chase and I live near one another in the same general metropolitan area. And I think we've only seen each other once.
Yeah, probably, maybe twice. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. It's easier to go to the computer and turn it on and just meet up online. Yeah. But welcome to it. Okay, so today, I know Chase isn't completely thrilled about the subject. I'm not sure that Spidey is either. Rob will have fun with it. But there is a video that came out a few weeks back, and it led into another video. Now, I'm not going to go over the first video very much, just a basic, the start of that video to just give a vibe of the video. And then I'm going to go into the second video, which I find much more interesting in many ways. And the first video is done by a YouTuber named Mooncat. And to her credit, she's a talented editor, put together, a compelling video. It is amusing at points. And, I
saw bits and pieces of it. I thought it was great. She really did her research, really supported her points really well,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely always want to give, credit where it is due. She puts a lot of work into it. I think she does like one every few months. So it's not a common thing. But
I have no idea what's going on.
Okay.
Me neither.
Well, you'll figure it out as we go. This is the fun part. By the way, a theme of Thursdays is Surprise Rob.
Always.
So.
Hello, I'm Butch Dieselsteak, and now I'm a newsreader. The YouTuber Mooncat is involved in a scandal wherein her 2 cats have called the police after alleged repeated incidents of her pulling the skin back on their faces until they look like rabid ferrets and taking pictures for her own sick entertainment value. This has led to them calling the police for repeated feline rights violations. And because this is a high-interest, ongoing news event on a 24-hour news channel, we've repeated everything we know about the case 47 times. So give a warm welcome to our body language expert. Talk. Say words. Well, as we can see from this footage, Mooncat is showing signs of disgust, and you can actually tell this from the crinkle in her forehead, possibly because the press have been outside her home all day, but I'll let your cognitive bias decide. Also, she seems to be increasing her intake of beer to cope, but would you look at that? Who pours their beer like that? Now that can be a sign of sociopathy. You know how the saying goes, that's why her beer head is so big. It's full of secrets. You see, body language is not an exact science, but it is backed up by my personal opinion and empirically proven pseudoscience. Over to our weather correspondent while I go and jump off a cliff. Body language experts. They've annoyed me for some time.
All right. So that was the intro to what I have to say.
I love how she burns something that's opinion based and then starts her video by saying that we've annoyed her for some time. Therefore, body language is no good.
Yes. And she continues with a 90-minute video.
Yeah.
So
I only saw bits of it. I hadn't seen that
90
part.
minutes?
I saw bits and pieces of it.
It is a
which I thought
90
were really well researched, and that was pretty much everything I knew about it.
It is very, 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 it is well researched, but with a definite conclusion in mind. And that is one of the dangers I always worry about when doing things. Rob, well, I mean, as a lawyer, that's kind of your job in a way, right? Is you're going to be arguing from a conclusion where you're trying to prove a case from the start. You know the results, but it's not necessarily a good scientific exploration.
No, in science, you never really want to begin with your conclusion. But, I mean, I haven't seen the video. I have opinions. I pulled something up that I'll show her a little bit later.
Oh.
My internet keeps dropping. I don't know why. Am I freezing? Or
No,
am
you're not freezing.
Okay.
So, okay. All right. Now, what I brought everyone in to talk about, though, is oddly enough, there was a reaction to Mooncat from, I would call him a major body language channel. This is the host of a major body language channel. No, he's not as big as either of you, but your names might come up.
Oh.
And he pre-existed both of your channels, though.
Oh.
His name is Derek Van Schaik.
I'm a subscriber.
Okay. I think I am as well. But he's been around. I reached out to him in 2018 to try to get him on the podcast way back. So, I mean, he precedes a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think he has 500,000 or so subs.
Oh, wow.
He's definitely very big. And I found this to be really surprising. His response is not exactly what I expected. Now, if there's somebody who's writing what I would call it was well-researched, but highly critical video about people in a field, genre, what would you guys call this? So, let's go into that real quickly. On YouTube, would you consider body language or the behavior science to be a genre of sorts? Or what would you call it? Category? Topic?
Yeah.
Field? I don't know.
Field.
Yeah.
Field?
Yeah. All, maybe, some part.
Well, I brought Chase here because I want to be succinct as possible. I definitely, I don't want to run on and on about it too much. But okay. So
I would say an exact science is the right.
Totally. Just like legal analysis, it's exact science. There's no way to get legal analysis wrong ever.
Absolutely
Every lawyer in
repeatable.
legal analysis ever disagrees.
No.
Well, people in the mathematics field can't disagree with each other. People that are astrophysicists can't disagree with each other often. So there's stuff that's 100% provable, and there's fields that deal in likelihoods. This just happens to be a field that deals in likelihoods. And when someone criticizes body language, it's like somebody asking a sports commentator where their credentials are after they've spent 20,000 hours playing the frickin' game. It's like, what credentials and education and certifications do you have to comment on sports? Well, I've been doing it for about 20 to 30,000 hours. There's some credentials and some expertise right there. And I think the biggest mistake, the number one thing that we'll hopefully talk about again, people confuse skill and expertise with information and data. Those are very different things. When I go to college, I'm testing myself. My grades are based on my ability to retain information, not my skill level. Unless I'm in the medical field or I'm learning like maybe I'm getting an electrician's certification to make sure I'm not like killing someone when they sit in their hot tub. That's a different thing. But most of this stuff is information and data and not skill and experience. That's the biggest mistake.
That's always been a similar issue that I've had with people who have that kind of criticism of body language. Like if Gordon Ramsay said something like, "This is the best way to make an eggs Benedict," and he gave you tips on how to do that.
But that's not proven in a lab.
Exactly. Right. Somebody be like, well, where's the empirical evidence that's
right?
Listen, a lot of what we talk about in body language, the basis of it was tested in a lab. Like, for example, when we say high blink rate is associated with stress or anxiety, that is proven in a lab again and again. So are the universal facial expressions again and again. Ekman's work, there's so much backing it up. But yeah, in the field, there's going to be variables because behavior is not something that's consistent. And also, I love people who go, it's pseudoscience. Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? Would somebody with a PhD in sports physiology beat Michael Phelps in the Olympics? Oh, and by the way, I never even stopped to ask how many credentials Phelps has, and his swimming actually might be pseudoscience. We'll have to look into that. But maybe a PhD in martial arts would make you win the UFC, or maybe a PhD in psychology would give you people skills like Bill Clinton. As it turns out, none of those things are true. It even turns out that a PhD in family therapy doesn't make you an excellent parent or even a good one. Or a PhD in engineering doesn't make you the best NASCAR driver. Or a PhD in physics doesn't make you able to beat the champion in tennis.
Or a Juris Doctor, it makes you a lawyer.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Rob, where's the research on what makes an effective lawyer?
Yeah. Right. Where's the empirical data on if you do A, B, and C, you will be a good lawyer?
There isn't any.
It's not there.
Yeah.
That's because every piece of academics that I've ever seen, and they ignore skill and expertise, and they prioritize data and information because skill and expertise are hard to replicate in a lab. So it's typically not even mentioned when we talk about things like that. So like the most famous psychology experiment of all time, the Milgram experiment, how many papers were written on the skill level of the dude in the lab coat that was making people shock the other person? Zero. There is zero measurement of skill, expertise, and experience when it comes to a lot of these behavioral and psychology research. I might even say all of them. And when people say body language is a pseudoscience, this giant ass book right here is the American Psychological Association Handbook of Nonverbal Communication. It's like 10 pounds worth of peer-reviewed research on nonverbal communication. I have a college degree. I credit none of my certifications, zero of my college education with any of my expertise or my rating as the #1 expert on planet Earth. I'll pass it to you guys. Go ahead and do whatever you like.
Oh, I'm not following.
Boom!
What am I supposed to do? Panic?
And by the way, the American Psychological Association, it's crazy how it all ties in. Joe Navarro's certification course online is backed by the American Psychological Association. So yes, you can say body language is a pseudoscience, but it's as much of a pseudoscience as psychology is. And
I was going to say psychology actually is a pseudoscience.
Psychology is pseudoscience. And I understand the argument. Because a lot of these studies are not replicable to the same result. If you do the same thing again and again, you can have variable results, because behavior is not something that is 100% replicable and reliable.
Even if you do it with the same humans.
What's that?
Even if you repeat it with the same human beings, they might have had a cheeseburger that day, so their neurotransmitters are different on Tuesday than Wednesday.
Yeah. So, and we're not claiming, we've never claimed that what we're saying is 100% accurate. This is why we want the clusters. This is why we want to see more than one thing. This is why we want to see patterns as opposed to just one isolated behavior. And even with all that, with the clusters, with the patterns, we're always saying this is what we think. But at the end of the day, all it means is that in an interrogation room, we would ask more questions about that subject. That's it.
And you know, Eric, I don't know what you're about to show us on Derek Van Schaik. I hope it's good, because I like the guy. There are occasions where he's very comfortable with the ambiguity of this art form, or whatever you want to call it.
I think art form's a good term.
When an expert is comfortable with ambiguity, I think that they're on the right track, because most of the time, we don't know yet is the most intellectually superior answer that you could give, including fields like neuroscience and neurology. We don't know yet. We don't have that figured out yet, is an intellectually superior answer. And I think that maybe what we're going to see is us getting bashed in this video. And if that's true, I want to preface this. If it happens, I think there's 3 levels of maturity in life. We have competitive, collaborative, and cooperative. And in this competitive mindset, it's essentially, I have to take them down, or I'm either going to fail or my people are going to leave me. And I think at a certain level of maturity, we're all in a competitive mindset. We all go through maybe a phase, sometimes later in life, earlier. We're in a competitive mindset at some point in our lives. Some people, like my fiance, who were born into a collaborative mode, but I think these people are extremely rare. I remember when I was younger, like a teenager, I saw the whole world through a competitive lens. I thought the way up was to compare myself to others, and if I could get them low enough, I would then get to the top. And we see this at different maturity levels of different people, but I think you get to the point of maturity where you get to a cooperative or a collaborative mindset, and you don't see competition. People say Amazon is squashing small business. Amazon is making small businesses thrive. Amazon's responsible for like 30% of the millionaires in the United States that don't even work for Amazon. So like we see companies and individuals and businesses that get into a collaborative and cooperative mindsets and out of the competitive mindset where I have to push someone down, because that is a limited mindset and it's a scarcity mindset. To where
that's what I was looking for, scarcity or zero-sum game versus an abundance mindset.
Yeah.
And that goes into the piece of pie where everybody thinks that, okay, you have one pie and we all have to eat off of it. So I'm going to get my piece, rather than the mindset of, well, we could get a few more ingredients and bake another damn pie.
If you eat more pie, there's less for me.
Yeah, there's not less for anybody. And like Derek's channel, I'm jealous of his badass backgrounds. He's got lighting like Spidey has. He's got cool tiles on the wall. I just put a camera up and there's books in the back. And I'm jealous of his editing capacity. He has the energy level of 3 human beings.
Hold on now, Chase. His books aren't color coded though. That one's all you.
That's correct. Yeah.
His books in order by color is definitely a Chase Hughes specialty.
But before we get into any videos, I would like, if I may, it's your channel, but I'd like to preface this by, these people mean well. No matter how mean they sound, they think they're doing the right thing for their fans, for themselves, for the greater good. By bashing me or bashing anybody else, they mean well. So before anybody gets angry or feels the need to like down talk anybody else, put yourself back into a cooperative, collaborative mindset. There's no need to do that here. We don't need to push anybody down. They go down on their own. I promise. I promise you. They go down on their own with no help from us.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's get into it. I know everybody's excited, and it's like, oh boy, are we spoiling for it? Now this
is the background. Look at this. I've never seen this. Look at this. Man, I want the same thing.
Well, he's a pro.
It looks like he has 2 seats there. He's ready to have Chase and Eric on as guests.
He says he's looking for a co-host, Chase. So maybe we have a shot.
I'm happy to do it.
We'll find out.
Do it topless.
Oh,
Let's see what we got here.
Tan Daddy.
She puts my clip taken out of context to support something that I never did. Welcome back to the Schaik Podcast. I'm your host, Derek Van Schaik, and of course, we don't have a co-host. Still looking for one of those. If you have been following me on any of my other social media, either my main channel or Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, anywhere else, you would know that I have been posting quite a bit of short videos. Are really not specific to body language at all. I've kind of moved away, not completely, but just kind of, I don't know, the way I like to say it and like to think of it is just matured a bit. And I'll still, of course, always be interested in behavioral stuff, with body language and analyzing things, breaking things down, trying to come to the truth and investigating. That's never going to change. It's just that I have been noticing that I can't compete with liars. Okay. I mean, quite frankly, I just can't compete with liars, just people who put out videos and just saying whatever you want to hear and just pointing out some bull crap about their body language and just confirming your already previously held beliefs. I can't do that. And I can't do that with a solid conscience. The point is that I feel like as a creator, I have matured past solely body language and similar things like that and moved to other more interesting things that require a little more education. So there's a video.
Anyway, so there's a start. And when I saw that going in, I was like, this isn't quite what I was expecting. I thought that he would be saying, what? No, there is value to body language and all that. And he does, I will say, ultimately, he'll wind up saying that. But apparently, maybe only from him. I don't know. We'll see.
They came out by a young lady named Mule Cat. Kind of
It's Moon Cat, by the way. Moon Cat.
like an investigative channel she is. Moon Cat with a few 100,000 subscribers, and she gets quite a few views for every video. And I noticed that she puts out like a video every 3 months, does some kind of big investigation and does that. And most of her videos get several 100,000 views because she spends 3 months on the thing. So it's kind of her 3 months worth of work that you see. So we're going to watch her expose of all of her body language channels, including yours truly that she included. And we are going to react and see what we think of her analysis that she claims she has done here.
Personal
Hold on,
opinion.
pause a sec. So far he's condescended on her, but also the people she's criticizing.
Mm-hmm.
So he's agreeing with her, but not agreeing with her.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I could be projecting, but what I've seen so far is he kind of said he's condescending to her and he can't compete because everybody's a liar.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I heard. I mean, out the gate was, I can't compete with liars.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting intro from that. And I'm like, I know so many of these.
You know what's
people.
hilarious about that? I'm speaking for myself. When I make my content, very often I ask myself, what is the public opinion and how can I present a different angle than that? Just to have people out there consider something different than what they're seeing. For example, with Meghan Markle, the obvious thing to do would have been to just trash her because that's what everybody out there wants. So everybody out there is talking about how much of a horrible human being she is. But I purposely tried to point out things that would be like, oh, maybe this isn't that bad. If we look at that, maybe let's not jump to the conclusion that she's a complete monster. And, a lot of people were like, how dare you? She's the absolute worst. And I knew that was going to happen. But yeah, for me, it's more about balance than even taking either side. So even if I personally have a bias, another great example is I covered Teal Swan a couple of months ago, and she's like a healer and very spiritual, and I don't hold those beliefs at all.
Okay, cult leader.
some call her a cult leader.
Actually, do. I mean, that's why I throw it out there. She could be that. It depends on your take. Some people think, some don't.
The easier path for me would have been to say, no, she's full of it. And look at all my experience with therapy and hypnosis, and I can disprove what she's doing. But I didn't take that path. I took the path of saying, let's look at it from both angles, because maybe so I do think objectivity is a very big part of what we do. I think what he's doing there is he's projecting the way he used to operate onto us.
Could be. Rob, you're a good neutral voice on this. You've never seen either video, nothing about them. So you're perfect. You don't really have that much exposure. What are your thoughts so far?
He's hedging his bets. He's basically playing both sides of the coin, regardless of how the outcome is of the video or the outcome is of his analysis. He's dismissed everyone else's body language analysis as being inferior to his own. And then he's also said that he's going to gauge this person. So if you try to say that body language, he's hedging his bets. He's playing both sides.
Cool. Chase, any thoughts?
No idea what's going to happen next. I haven't seen this, but the background is amazing. I'd like to see the rest.
All right. Set design for the win.
Wrong if the only thing that wants to be around you is cats.
Body language experts. They've annoyed me.
Actually,
Don't you?
Or Brooklyn here.
Let me back that
claims
up.
she has done here.
Personal opinion and empirically proven pseudoscience. Over to our weather correspondent while I go and jump off a cliff.
She's the type of person who you meet and you kind of say, "Oh, you have a cat, don't you?"
Or Brooklyn here gets it.
There's nothing wrong with having a cat, but there's maybe something wrong if the only thing that wants to be around you is cats.
Body.
Who hurt you?
That's a very thoughtful.
You don't have any evidence that. I bet a lot of people want to be around her.
Yeah.
Like who hurt you?
But is that a perfect answer? I mean, it's like, okay, so we're going to go immediately for the trope. That's an odd choice. It's like, oh, I bet she has a cat. Beavis and Butthead's back. I mean, good God. So I think that was interesting.
Language experts. They've annoyed me for some time.
I agree. Some body language experts are quite annoying. There's always a happy medium of when something is too much, it becomes not very good anymore.
The moving camera too.
Body language.
Yeah.
Girl's probably facing the world instead of facing her man. What does it mean if the triangle is green?
She's a little weird. I mean, maybe I should break down her body language. I wonder if she would like that. What do you think her body language says right here? She's standing up without pants on, apparently, and either a long shirt or a weird muumuu dress that she's wearing. And she's pointing to her between leg region. Yeah.
And now they're all over the only website.
Wait, we know some of this.
I saw Spidey.
Yeah.
And now
I'm at the top. Is that good?
Oh, I've never heard of Enigma. Okay, well, I got.
She put you on her third eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super.
You're right there. Oh,
I'm
Spidey, you
top
make an appearance. I promise.
Like at least in the field of like pseudo idiots who are baseless and dumb, I'm the top one. It's super exciting.
Yeah.
they're all.
There you go, body language guy, believing Bruce.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Believing Bruce, I like a lot. Body language guy is fantastic.
Well, where the hell is
Oh,
the
there's
panel?
Mandy. Mandy's here. Body language ghost, Mandy O'Brien. I've had her on.
Yeah, where's the panel?
Only website.
Oh, she didn't even go after the panel. You guys are excluded from this.
No. I've seen her. I've seen all 90 minutes. Believe me, the panel was covered. Chase got his own special time.
Awesome.
So in the long video, I'm only talking about the Derek video because I find it odd to have a body language person reacting to that.
I'm so upset that the panel isn't there. I would have wanted them to be included in that.
Oh, you're the feature player.
Yeah.
And now they're all over the only website
Oh, there I am right there. I'm famous, guys. I'm famous.
on the internet.
There.
Oh, they're there. Yes. Okay, wonderful.
All right.
Yeah, love it. Good. Oh, observe. Yeah, of course. Observe too. Like I should have pointed that out. He belongs on this list as well.
Yeah.
Man, look at that. That's a bunch of great channels right there.
Yeah.
There you go. It's everybody should know. Okay, so subscribe now to all these.
YouTube.com.
So Believing Bruce, the behavioral arts, Derek Van Schaik, yours truly. Yeah, that's me. She decided to feature me. That's right. The behavior panel, Observe. Looks like Ghost is in there. The guy's in there. And I've never seen this guy over here.
While we sit on the sofa, our brains slowly turning into a mushy paste.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's turning into a mushy paste. Me listening to her. Like, it's
Why?
a little...
Hold on.
It's a little drawn out. And if you think this is drawn out, later on gets completely drawn out with just some crap that she just throws in there because she's just trying to make a lot of money off of a long.
Come on, what?
Have you edited this video at all?
No.
Like, how are we drawn out? Aren't we like in the first 30 seconds?
What do you mean?
Like, he's like, this is getting really drawn out. This is taking a long time. This is a lot of mush.
Oh, no, he is reacting to her video. He doesn't actually go through all 90 minutes. He's describing her video, which I will say it is 90 minutes. Now I'm a fan of videos, but a 90-minute pre-recorded YouTube video is a long video. And she goes into a lot of depth and has chapters. I mean, it is a very long video. But and that's where he's going with it, drawn out, but being snarky every step of the way, in my opinion.
Long form video and trying to make as much money as possible because this is her quarterly, ability to pay her rent. So she has to make a very.
So we're seeing a champion level content creator, number one. Like, this is good content. Like, she is editing really well. Everything's edited well. And he should know that she's trying to be funny. Like, just from what I've seen here, she's trying to be funny. She's doing what she's supposed to do to get subscribers. Do something dramatic, criticize something, and get subscribers. That's her job. And I don't know why there's a need to I need to smash this person's face into the ground and make a YouTube video about it. I think this could have been done by Derek. I love a lot of Derek's stuff. I think it could have been done with a little more maturity.
Agree. And this is why I wanted to show at least the intro to her video to give a vibe of what she's doing, her editing, her patterns, whatever. And it is funny.
I will say this. From what I heard about her video and the bits that I saw, I don't have a problem at all with her saying, here's what's being presented. I personally don't buy it. It's not for me. Because listen, Chase and I, we've studied hypnosis most of our adult lives. We're used to having people tell us that the thing that we study and are passionate about is not real. It's fine. We'll get over that. We're allowed to have differences of opinion. We've heard this all the time. And yet I was sending Chase screenshots last week of a hypnosis session I did. And maybe she's watching. She's a great subscriber, Rachel, where she had a crippling fear of flying in heights. Crippling fear. We did one virtual session. The next day she sent me a picture. She was walking on, those really tall trees where you walk between on those bridges between the tall trees. I don't even know what it's called, but she was like enormously high up, sending me pictures with a smile on her face and saying, my boyfriend is in shock. He never thought I could do this. One session. So Chase and I are used to being told this isn't real. And then proceeding to just do it anyways. It's fine. But I didn't mind that part of what she was saying at all, especially because it was well researched. So she said, there's research that shows this, then there's research that shows the opposite of this. I'm going to go ahead with this hallway, and that's fine. What I didn't like was her very condescending tone towards Paul Ekman and Joe Navarro. You can debate intelligently,
especially Ekman. She kind of went hard on.
She said Ekman. A lot of mean things about him, and you can look at what he's teaching and go, I don't buy it. I'm not going to subscribe to that. But Paul Ekman is very respected in psychology. His research opened up a massive door to nonverbal communication research. His work has been studied, and there are way more studies that confirm what he said. The angry face. There is so much research on the angry face. There's so much research on the individual components of the angry face. Just the furrowed brows, just the opened upper eyelids, just the wing dilation or nostril flaring. There's a lot of research that confirms it. Yes, there's some research that tries to go against it, but it hasn't been discredited. It hasn't been, the psychology community hasn't outcast or thrown away his research at all. There's some debate over it, but there's far more that confirms it than denies it. Universal emotions are very much studied in psychology. So
she went after Darwin too. Don't forget.
She went, okay, well, yeah.
And part of it was, and this is the part, and I don't want to get too deep into her video because we're not going into that. But when she went after Darwin, it was, instead of saying his science is garbage, she said that he had an inbred relationship and had children that were defective. And it's like, that's really not arguing the guy's science. That's arguing his personal choices.
Credibility.
And that doesn't, ad hominem attacks is, I guess, the best way I could put it. Yeah. And when you have that kind of thing, right, don't go. Now, if you say this research was proven false and terrible because this research came along and tore it up. And she did a lot of that with Ekman, and that's fair. But she did do a little bit of that, like with Darwin, and that popped in my head just as an example.
But all I'm saying is, at the end of the day, Ekman remains a highly respected professor of psychology. Like he's got the experience. He did the research. He went out there. What he presented was very sound. He didn't falsify evidence. So yes, you can look at it and go, I have a problem with this. I have some criticism here, and that's fine. But remember one thing, at the end of the day, if it's you versus Ekman talking about psychology, Ekman wins based on experience, based on credentials, based on everything. At the end of the day, when it comes to psychology, his opinion just matters more. So, for me, it's a question of respect. If I disagree on something that Chase says, I'm going to approach that extremely respectfully, because it's Chase. His experience in interrogation rooms, his experience with research, his credentials far outweigh mine. So it's going to be presented with respect. And it's the same with Navarro, by the way. She discredits or speaks down on Navarro because some of what he says isn't researched. It's his own experience. But that experience isn't a weekend in an interview room. It's 30 years as an FBI interrogator with a very decorated career, who now trains the FBI, whose work is backed up by the American Psychological Association. His certification course, it's credited. You can get credits for advanced education with his course, for psychologists, for therapists. So his work is highly recognized and acknowledged by law enforcement and psychology. So even if you disagree, and that's fine, you can disagree, I think a level of respect is owed to a man who interrogated for 30 years for the FBI. And that alone to me is valuable. Anyways, sorry for the TED Talk.
Let me just interject. What you guys just heard Spidey do, that's the way that you go back and you rebut the things that you saw in the video. What we're seeing Derek do here is an ineffective response. I mean, he's engaging the same type of behavior, the ad hominem attacks. He's employing a really kind of nasty sense of humor when he's trying to do it. It's that funny but not funny sense of humor that's really disconcerting. So when you see someone that makes a video like that, if you disagree with it, you have two options, or three options. One, ignore it. Two, laugh with it as a humor. Or three, you come back and you actually critique it. Engaging in the same type of ad hominem attacks doesn't do anything except for put two pigs in a pen, and now both of you are muddy.
Chase, what you got?
Let's keep going. I want to see a little more.
Oh yeah, there's plenty more. There's good stuff
coming.
By the way,
I do want to say something before we go on. My introduction to Ekman and my introduction to Chase, what's the book? It's two guys. Oh my God, on nonverbal communication, massive textbook.
The Pieces.
Alan and Barbara Pease.
No, textbook. Oh my God,
Man
why am I
Watching.
blanking on this? I have it
Desmond Morris.
No, I'll go get it in a sec. But anyways, my first introduction.
Julius Fast.
No, I'll go get it in a sec. I don't know why I'm blanking on this. I shouldn't be blanking on this. But anyways, Knapp and Hall. The KNAPP and Hall, they wrote the textbook on nonverbal communication.
I have it.
Yeah, of course you do. It's a compilation of research on nonverbal communication. I was introduced to both those things, Paul Ekman and the Knapp and Hall textbook, in my degree, my college degree, my university degree in sociology and psychology. So, people who say like, oh, this is pseudoscience. Yeah, as far as psychology and sociology are pseudosciences, it's a pseudoscience in that it's not always empirical and repeatable, but it doesn't mean it's invalid. Come on now.
All right.
Long form video, and the longer it is, the more she gets paid. They start out okay, and it's kind of interesting, and if you're kind of on board with it, it kind of works, but then it just dies so quickly. Her watch time towards the end must be like 10%. Don't worry, we're going to fast forward through a lot of this and clip the heck out of this.
But you must rather observe clusters of cues to deception, which allows them to weave any narrative they like.
There is the possibility of people doing that, and that's what I think some people are doing nowadays. I think some people are just figuring out whatever you want to hear and just pointing out some things on her face and being like, oh, well, there you go. You all don't like Amber Heard, right? So here you go. Point some things out. See, it's fake because you didn't see some tears rolling down her left eye enough. You can make up anything. And that's the reality. And that's what I really hate about body language, is that you can get some people that are just going to say whatever you want to hear and just lie to you, frankly, because they can just confirm whatever you already want to know and already want to hear. So, what Mule Cat is saying here, and I have no idea what her name is at this point. We're just going to call her anything that comes to mind. What Mule Cat is saying isn't completely wrong, that, if there's confirmation bias and you can just say to people whatever they already want to hear and they're going to want to hear it. But to say that all body language is completely bullshit is just wrong. And here's the other thing. To do body language right is more than just to look at the behavior, but to also analyze the verbals and to analyze the speech and assess what they are actually saying, to piece together the subject's words to the facts. That really has a major impact.
Totally
I agree with them. No, sorry. Go ahead.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So that right there is dead
on how accurate you can be, is really pulling it all together. And what she's talking about is just mostly just the behavioral side. Oh, well, look, she did this and she pointed to her hair and she had, she was crying and everything like this, as opposed to also pay attention to her speech, to use everything in concert to be able to have an idea of what's going on and to figure out the truth.
Or they'll watch retrospective cases in which they already know.
Oh, I know these guys.
Oh my God! Look,
bad pause game.
Ear.
Bad pause game.
Why do they do it? I hate that shirt.
Bad pause game.
That's like his old house. That's like when Chase was a little Chasito, like before he evolved into a
little Chasito.
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 Chasito, pobrecito.
I borrow some sweats.
These are my recreation
clothes. About the movie Nacho Libre with Jack Black, where we just like randomly send each other quotes.
But by the way, did you borrow Greg Hartley's ceiling for your new place? Are you secretly there and you just repainted it?
Funny.
This is the other side of that room. I live in his basement.
Okay. Well, I'm just wondering. I mean, that there's something here.
I have a quick question. So he was saying that you have to take verbal analysis into account as well, and then he was saying that they don't do that, or someone doesn't do that. Who doesn't do that?
I don't know. There's a big who, but don't worry, Spidey. He might fill in some blanks if you stick with us.
Oh no.
The outcome of an event and then sit there postulating about how they would have seen the warning signs.
And she points out the retrospective of, oh, well, Chris Watts,
he called this
everyone
case.
Looks at Chris Watts and they'll all say that, oh, you should have known because look what he's doing. Yeah, there's some of that where you have the retrospective bias and you already know the outcome, so you're able to say it. But at the same time, I was making body language videos before he came out and confirmed that he was guilty and confirmed that he did
Derek
it all.
called this case.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah.
And he's willing to go out on a limb, which I give him tremendous amount of respect for.
Okay.
On before he came out as guilty. I guess she's showing the behavioral panel here, which I've never seen any of their videos, but
okay, I love that.
Oh,
I've never seen any of their videos, but and here we go. Hold on, let's hear that again. I always love hearing that from people. I've never seen any of fill in the blank, but
early on before he came out as guilty. I guess she's showing the behavioral panel here, which I've never seen any of their videos, but yeah, if you look at their backgrounds, they're not very impressive. And here's another thing to always know and always remember. The FBI will never hire anybody who has not graduated from college. And you usually have to go to a pretty good college too. You can't just, take all your college courses from your mom's basement and expect to get into the FBI.
Spotting.
That hurt. That hurt because like Chase was like so keen on complimenting the guy's background and saying how like he aspires to be like him, and the guy just went right for the gut. I
need to change this up. I need to change it up.
My heart bleeds for you.
I'll help you with the lighting setup, Chase. I've learned a lot.
I can tell. I see you have the dresser that Abraham Lincoln.
Oh no! Other setup with a jury box of unicorns and robots that are in the background. Yeah. Chase is throwing shade.
I love you, Rob.
I'm not Derek.
Guys, this is what they want. They want us to turn on each other. Don't do it. Collaborative mindset.
Don't worry. Chase is turning on the non-body language person, so you're still okay.
Listen, guys, listen. The truth of the matter is some people have credentials and information and experience and are brilliant and don't need a nice background because the information is right. And some other people really focus on the background a little more because they have nothing to back it up with. So they need to have nice stuff in the background. I'd much rather be one of the ones who has the normal looking backgrounds because I want to be smart.
So that's me, right? I have the IKEA cluttered shelves. So that's my credentials.
I'm going to put my fake plants back up.
So with all that said, I was a high school dropout, give or take, and I'm a college graduate now. But all of my stuff that I built for body language is hanging on the wall at the FBI Academy. So take that for whatever it is.
Yep.
Facial emotions is critical to understand people's behavior and their attitudes to you, because you want to know if they are being sincere or maybe don't have the best intentions in mind. And that's why I created my complete guide to facial expressions.
So with this guy, I actually had no idea that this was the body language guy. I heard of this guy one time. I don't watch any of these channels. I watch none of them because they're just, some of them are unbearable. They're really bad. But his name is the body language guy, and he looks at basically pictures and evaluates body language just based on pictures.
Okay, Spidey, I know you follow Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Does Jesus look at pictures and do his body language based on still pictures?
Not that I've seen. I think every now and then, like on a post or something, he might take a picture and look at some of the body language there. But overall, I've been very impressed with Jesus and the way he explains things. And I know that his fans learn a lot. And I've never, I can't remember a single time where I heard him say something I was like, oh, that's completely wrong. I think he does have, he's not a big Meghan Markle fan. And
that's his beat.
That's the thing. That's the thing. And I think at the end of the day, so if we look at what Derek is saying, does Jesus look at Meghan and have a confirmation bias? I don't think that's what it is. Does he point out things that legitimately paint her under negative light? I think that there are times where he does that, where he chooses to look at the things that she does that aren't the best.
I think we're all guilty of that. I will personally say I'm guilty of that. I've been pissed off or something at something that happened in my life, and I will target something on a show while we're filming a panel. I'm not I'm not a robot. I'm not a fucking machine. If someone wants to like say that, I will never go to the mat and say that I am like some flawless thing that is unbiased or doesn't do anything. And you know what Jose does with pictures? He educates. He educates people with pictures. He doesn't perform a whole lot of analysis. He's teaching his subscribers how to read body language better. I'm upset that like people like this who their main goal is to educate what's in peer-reviewed research with people with still pictures is getting attacked.
Yeah.
That's
a good point. Yeah.
That upsets me.
Yeah, and the guy's good. The guy's at the end of the day, the guy's good at what he does. So yeah, does he have a bone to pick with Meghan Markle? Fine, I don't care. I've said things when I did my initial analysis of Andrew Tate. It was just savagery. It was just me being pissed off at a man who's messaging I despise. And then the next day, I was texting Rob, I was texting Chase, I was texting Eric, and the next day I did a live where I said, "Listen, guys, I feel like I came at this from a very unique, like just one direction, and it's not fair." So I presented other footage and tried to balance it out a little. But it has happened where, and there are cases I choose not to cover because I know that's going to happen. Eric, we've talked
Alex
about
Jones.
I purposely chose to not cover Alex Jones because I know that I'm compromised. I know that because of what a family member of mine has gone through, I cannot look at that case and not focus mostly on the negative. So I knew I wouldn't be able to do that one. So there are cases I sit out for that purpose.
Yeah, well, we've talked about one too. Was it Rydell or something like that? The girl who was found in her vehicle in the water.
Yes. Rodney.
Yeah, sorry. We both talked about that. It's like, yeah, there's just nothing there.
It's not that there's nothing there. It's that.
No, for us, like we don't see any good coming out of it.
I wasn't confident in my read. And that's another thing. And Eric, I'm going to talk about this now because you and I text about this a lot. My background is different from Chase's. And that difference is not something a lot of people think about. Chase gained his experience in interrogation rooms. In other words, he was put in a room with someone and he had to read that person. I gained my experience on stages of where I have hundreds, sometimes thousands of people in front of me, and I'm a mentalist. I bring people up, and by the way, a lot of people confuse mentalist with like psychic or medium. It's not the same thing at all. Mentalists will openly tell you that we're using trickery, nonverbal communication, and psychology. But the bottom line is this. I have a crowd of people in front of me. I glance over them. I'm doing stuff. I'm looking at their reactions, and I get to choose who comes up next. I get to choose the person I'm going to work with. So yes, I get a lot of hits on stage where I say things to people and they go, "Oh my God, how does he know these things about me?" But I selected that person to be up there with me. So I have a pretty good ratio, but I'm selective. So there are certain cases I won't touch because I look at it, and Rodney was one of them. I looked at it and I was like, I'm not connecting. I'm not getting what I feel I should be getting. The panel did a great job with it. I watched it. I loved it. But yeah, so there are times that happens, but at least I try to actively avoid letting that happen. And I know it's the same with Chase. I know they try to do that as little as possible.
Yeah. And you know, a lot of this that we're seeing here is maybe I tend to profile people that I see. The number one first thing that I see is a person's level of self-control. Number one, can't like someone's insulting them. How do they respond to being insulted or criticized and all this? And we can have all the thoughts we want. Margaret Atwood, who's a famous author, had a great quote about this. She said, "If we're all on trial for our own thoughts, we would all be hanged." All of us. And on the second half of this, I can think of another Margaret Atwood quote that perfectly describes some of this stuff when it comes to criticizing behavioral experts. Ignoring is not the same as ignorance. You have to work at it. That's the difference. You have to work hard to ignore the science, to ignore expertise and skill and the people who have spent their lives doing stuff like this. And I think Derek Van Schaik means well. I've seen a lot of his videos. I will still subscribe. I will not. Somebody told me to unsubscribe from his channel. I will still subscribe to his channel. I want all body language experts to thrive because I think when somebody wants to learn behavior skills, they're going to get it from as many sources as they possibly can. They're going to subscribe to all the channels and learn from anybody that they want to. And I think at the end of the day, the market is never wrong. the market, meaning the people who subscribe on YouTube, aren't stupid. Like if you have a garbage channel or you're acting like a fool, people are just going to unsubscribe to you. You will fire yourself from YouTube. So just let the market make those decisions. We don't need to smash somebody's face in the dirt and like make fun of someone. I know she's going to talk about me in a few minutes, regardless of what it is. I don't know who she is. I've never seen her in my life. She looks like a ton of fun. I would much rather hang out with her than a lot of people that I've met in the last few months. But either way, she's making content and it has nothing to do with me. And at the end of the day, I have to answer to what my kids and my grandkids are going to see me do on the internet to another human being. And that's the ultimate thing. What legacy are you leaving of maturity and just setting an example for your own kids?
Wow. I actually saved a quote up for this show, and I'm going to read it now before we go into it. I don't know if you guys have heard of this before. It's The Man in the Arena, and it's by Teddy Roosevelt. And I've always appreciated this because it's about critics. And essentially he writes, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat."
Wow.
And I've always appreciated that because I think there's a lot to be said about just doing it, just going out there and doing it and putting forth the effort. And
you know, I really appreciate Rob when it comes to this as well, because, you know, there are times where Rob and I will be talking and we'll say something and he'll go, "Oh yeah, you know, this reminds me of this trial that I was doing and I saw this, I didn't know what it meant." So Rob is really filtering. Like, I know there are times where I'll say something and Rob will go, "Okay, well, I don't really see myself using that." But then there are times I'll say something and go, "Oh, that's interesting." And we expect people to filter. This is what a lot of people misunderstand why I present both sides of the argument a lot of times. Even if I think something, I'll present the opposite side because I expect the viewers to filter. If you told me that my viewers were taking my opinion and making it their opinion, that would make me super uncomfortable. I hate that idea. I want them to take my opinion. I want to present my opinion and say, here's why I think it is, given my experience, given my studies, this is what I'm seeing. And I want them to take that and go, "Oh yeah, you know what? I think I see that. I'm going to consider that." But at the end of the day, I also want them to go, "No, you know, Rob and I did a video last week and we talked about Darrell Brooks with that Reddit post. And we both said, we think there's prior knowledge here based on our experience." I don't want people to look at that and go, "Yes, he knew about the Reddit post." I want people to look at it and go, "Actually, I disagree. I think it was news to him and here's why." Behavioral expert. I've never called myself a behavioral expert.
I have.
But all it means, like all I think I have.
You've been calling him that or yourself that, Chase?
No, Chase is a behavioral expert. I'll call Chase a behavioral expert. The only thing that I think I have, there's two things I think I have more than the average person. One is that I've devoted a whole lot of time studying behavior, actually looking at the research, actually, you know, taking the courses and putting in the time. But second, and I think this is the more important thing, night after night after night, I've gotten on stage in front of thousands of people. I brought people up on stage and I used what I know to read them and to tell them what I'm seeing and to have them go, "Oh my God, he's in my head." And they gave me awards for that. So like, I made a career of using nonverbal communication to do what we call cold reading in mentalism. Cold reading means I know nothing about the person. I've never met them. I know nothing. They walk in front of me and I have to start doing a reading on them right away. If nonverbal communication didn't exist, I'd be up shit's creek without a paddle. What would I do in that scenario? You know
By the way,
I mean?
that reminds me, and not to steal from them, one of the things I've always loved about the behavior panel is the different angles. So like you're talking about a very specific different angle that is unique to you. And that's part of what attracted me to try to reach out to you and meet you. Same way as Mark Bowden is very different than the other three in the behavior panel, because Mark Bowden is a master at projecting body language and presentation and pushing it out. Now, obviously, he can read it well too, but I feel like he has the unique experience on how to conduct oneself, and he's invaluable. Like when you guys did Prince Andrew, I think that your video on Prince Andrew, and Chase, you can correct me if I'm wrong, would have been far inferior than it was without Mark Bowden.
100% agree. And the cool thing I like about the panel is when we disagree, it makes me nervous. Like while we're recording and somebody says, well, I don't completely agree with that, I'll maintain a straight face, but I'm like, oh shit, what did I say? What did I do? But even throughout the whole thing, I want there to be disagreement and some kind of thing not to really match up. Even as we're talking around here, I can't keep my eyes off of this chat over here. I don't know how you guys do this. Like I want to read it all, and I can't stop myself from reading it.
And that's one of the coolest things so I just want to make 2 points. One is that while I was watching Derek there, like I kept thinking in my head, objection foundation. If you haven't watched a video of someone actually doing analysis, don't criticize their analysis, because you can't look at the result and criticize how they got there, because you don't know how they got there because you didn't watch the video. And then
based on their background, based on the background of their
you look at a conclusion and you're working your way back, and you're doing the exact same thing that you are accusing these other people of doing, of looking at a photo and then saying that this is how they reached a determination. You haven't watched the video of how they got there, so don't criticize.
Yeah, you didn't even know the guy, right? So there was two people. You're right. There were two people that he mentioned, the behavior panel. Then he trashed them. Never watched their videos, but trashed. And then Jesus, the body language guy. You're right, Rob. And he went right to it. And he said, I don't even know the guy, never heard of him. And then he just made all these judgments.
Yeah.
And then the second part is basically echoing what Chase and Spidey had said. There's a way to actually engage and critique. And one of the coolest ways that you do it, or the coolest ways that I've seen people do it, and this is a recommendation to anyone in the chat who's ever watching these videos, ask a question. Well, what about this? Or did you see this? Or do you have an opinion here? Express your opinion that might be different than theirs in the form of a question. And you would be surprised, because you'll actually begin a dialogue. And then you might actually learn that they did consider the position that you had. They then worked their way around it. I mean, what's cool about when I get to film with Spidey is all of the stuff that we leave on the cutting room floor. The disagreements that you guys don't see behind, where Spidey will reach a conclusion and I'll sit there and say, I don't see it. And you don't see it because it's not part of the analysis that we produce and send to you, but it's there.
I enjoy putting it all on the floor. Like I'm watching the thing and he says he doesn't know who the behavior panel is. I was upset by that. Like I thought I would love for him to know who we are. You know, he's a famous YouTuber. He's got a bunch of subscribers and stuff. I wanted him to know who we are. That would make me feel cool, at least. But maybe that was the intent. Maybe that was the point of saying something like that. But when it comes down to body language, you can flip to the end of the DSM, this Diagnostic Manual of Psychology. It's a big purple book. It's too far away from my chair right now. You can go to this giant red book I was holding up earlier. It's got 1,000 references in the back of it. Then you can go to a book like this. This is a book by John Truby called The Anatomy of Story.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells you how to write a compelling story. It's the golden standard in Hollywood. Netflix uses it for every single show they produce. Apple TV uses this for every single show. This is how they write story. But you flip to the back of this, there's no references. It's just an index. Where are the peer-reviewed studies here? Where are the peer-reviewed studies to show that this is the book you're supposed to write stories with? Every single Hollywood producer and show producer uses this. So what we're saying is this is just BS because it doesn't have a bunch of studies in the back of it. Maybe so. I certainly hope not, because this is the gold standard. You know why? Because people prioritize results over citations. So results are more important. And I'll give you an example. If you go to, let's say you're looking outside tonight and you're like, I think we'll have sushi. I'm going to go eat sushi. The things that a sushi chef gives you could literally kill you, could take your life. So when things are important, we automatically default to skill and experience, not credentials. And if you're eating raw fish, your comfort in eating that fish rests in the experience level of the chef, not the credentials of the chef. And I'll just wrap that little up with a little bow. And nobody wants to be a surgeon's first patient because the credentials are not as important as the experience.
I was just thinking that maybe that study is all of Hollywood right now.
Is what?
Technically, John Truby's study is being done in the field. So it's like come back in 50 years and then say, yeah, all these principles that were written out here, you could see used over this time. Sometimes you're proving things in progress. I'm going to throw an author out myself before we get started again. Jonathan Haidt talked about the happiness hypothesis. And essentially what he did in that book is he took all this ancient wisdom, all the different religions and quotes throughout time. Then he went to pop science and brain scans where they found all of these things matching all this ancient wisdom that could never be proven before by machines and things that are scanning now. It's definitely an interesting read to check out.
Also, I can't help but think this in terms of what Derek said about the panel. There's a really strong contrast there for me, because if you don't know who Chase Hughes and Greg Hartley are, how much of a body language expert can you really be? I mean, if you can't go too far in the field without reading a Hartley book.
Well, he said he doesn't watch any of them. He's the
Forget watching. You can't get too far in the field without coming across a Hartley book or a Hughes book. I mean, Chase wrote the best-selling book on body language in the world, and Hartley has like 10 of them out there, all of which are enormously successful. So where did you get your information? Like, how did you study body language? Like, I get that, experience is worth more. I don't know what his experience is. Honestly, I don't know what Derek's experience is. But if you research the field, because, learning from the experts is a big part of it. How far can you go in studying body language without coming across Hartley or Hughes or Rouse or Bowden? Like, how do you – I don't understand how somebody could be an expert or feel like they're qualified in body language without knowing – who Greg Hartley is. That makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, Rob, I'm going to borrow you to pull stuff up. That this is his experience before he started doing body language, and it's in the private chat.
I'm going to have to dip in a minute.
Oh, okay.
But before we continue, there are entire YouTube channels out there, full channels dedicated to proving to you that the Earth is flat.
True.
It doesn't bother you because it's not an emotional point for you. This shouldn't bother you. If you hate body language, the behavior panel shouldn't bother you. You should not give anything. Even if you hate me, I don't deserve your permission to invade your head and piss you off. I don't deserve that permission. I don't even know you. Don't give any of this permission. Like, there's full channels out there. The Earth is flat. There's alien lizard human beings that are probably your next door neighbor all over YouTube. That shouldn't and it probably doesn't upset you because it's absurd. And I think this is something similar that doesn't deserve much of a place in your head. I'll be a subscriber to her channel. I have no ego about any of this. I have no emotion about this. I hope you don't either. And I hope this doesn't upset you. So don't let it. Don't give it permission to live in your head. I don't have permission to live in your head. I don't have permission to piss you off. That's up to you. Yeah. I love you.
All right. Before we get into it, there's another moment we got to share here.
He was like mic drop. He was trying to leave like dramatic.
I know he was, but
I'm not trying to leave yet.
No. You messed it all up.
All right. Well, I'm skipping ahead a little.
Let everyone know in the comments below. She could have called out that I actually said,
look who's on the screen.
Jeffrey Dahmer's name is Jeffrey Dahmer in that video. Which
That's
is
us.
pretty embarrassing.
That's I know. That's why I pulled it.
But she didn't. So thank you, Mooncat.
I'm going to leave a link to the video that I made about ways to avoid gaslighting and manipulation, the tools that gaslighters use and how you can counter those tools. Very important stuff, all in the description.
Oh, Spidey, this guy. And that guy is, I don't know, some other guy.
Love it.
He used to be a magician, like an actual magician on like America's Got Talent. and would do
never
card
been on America's
tricks
Got
and
Talent.
a whole bunch of these kind of deceptive things that are just kind of stupid.
I don't know, some
Apparently,
other
he didn't
guy,
go
just
too
the
far in
number
America's
one
Got
body
Talent,
language
and then
expert
he
in
made
the
a YouTube
world.
channel. It's kind of stupid. Apparently, tricks and
No, hold on. What is he saying? What is he saying?
America's
Because
Got
like
Oh, you got to
gave
have
one
Spidey's
credit,
moment here.
and it was wrong. Like I've done a lot of TV, but America's Got Talent isn't one of them. So he gave one credit about like it. It would take.
You weren't
Google
on
search.
AGT.
Huh?
You weren't on AGT, were you?
That's his point. Yeah.
No, I was on Canada's Got Talent, Penn and Teller Fulas, Showtime at the Apollo. I've done a lot of TV, but AGT wasn't one of them. So,
Hold on. We'll go through. We'll go through.
talent.
yeah, go. Let's.
And would do card tricks and a whole bunch of these kind of deceptive things that are just kind of stupid. Apparently, he didn't go too far in America's That Got Talent.
Okay, and
then
that
he
I was
made a
never on
YouTube
it.
channel, and I remember stumbling upon some of his card tricks, and I remember looking at his card tricks and just the way he was presenting it, and I was like, you're kind of cringe, and guy, you got to have a lot more improvement. I can't believe you are on America's Got Talent. Apparently,
I
he
wasn't.
changed his channel name. Apparently. To now
No, it's
the
a different channel.
behavioral
What is he
arts,
saying?
and now he like does deception detection, which he just, I don't know, just calling out bullshit that he just sees. I don't know. It's just so funny. This is a little bit of my little fuck you
Okay, hold
to
on,
the
pause,
body
pause, pause,
language
pause, pause.
community.
I just want to lay down the facts. Every single thing he said about my experience is incorrect. He goes, he didn't get too far in AGT. Yeah, in that I wasn't there. 2, he goes, he changed the channel name. It's a different channel. 3, my card tricks are cringe. Okay, sure. I mean, okay. Like I don't want to drop rank, but like in terms of success as a performer, I'm at the top of my game. Like in terms of corporate shows, college shows, like what I do out there, I have awards for my performances. I have awards for my instructional products that
There's no need.
Other,
Hey, Spidey. Remember, I said there were 3 ways you can respond to videos like this.
Yeah.
You can either go back and intelligently rebut them, you can dismiss and ignore them, or you can laugh at them. We have now reached the laughing at them category.
Mm-hmm.
So
Agreed.
you going and trying to rebut everything he's saying, there's no point.
That's why it's actually, Spidey, that's part of why I like it. It's because it's so completely off that he's no longer relevant. I mean, every single fact that he just stated is completely off. So you kind of are like, okay, so he's full of shit. Yeah. There's nothing to see here.
Objection foundation.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. You can look at my card tricks and think they're cringe. I'm just saying like it's different to say I think it's cringe. Like I don't like this guy's card magic.
Sure,
you have to be able to separate that from the fact that as a magician and mentalist, like I'm quite accomplished. You know what I mean? So you might think it's cringe, but enough people don't that I've made a pretty successful career out of it. So, and that's I would recognize that. Like if I looked at someone and I said, I don't like this, but obviously enough people do.
No,
I think
he's mad that people are playing with his toys in the sandbox.
Well, you know what? There is a reason. There is an internal, this is inarguable. There's an internal reason inside this person that he feels the need to do this kind of hammer thing and push other people down. And that is some kind of suffering that we have no idea what it is, but it has nothing to do with anybody else. We can see the behavioral pattern of him doing this in one video to multiple people. And that's all we're seeing. We're seeing a person just reacting off of how they're feeling in the moment or feeling threatened, vulnerable, insecure. I won't even claim to know. I have no clue. But
and you know who doesn't think my card tricks are shit? Shin Lim. You want to know who that is? Go to Vegas, get off the plane, and look up.
Yep. Or just Google best magician in the world.
In the freaking world.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. You want to talk about getting far in AGT? He's the only person who's won AGT twice. He won AGT, then he won AGT Champions. And he doesn't think my card tricks are cringe. He brought me on his channel several times. We're good friends. We go way back. So
I even have the extreme, unbelievable privilege to randomly, with no notification, FaceTime Spidey and say, "Hey, I'm with like 10 friends. Can you do a couple of tricks?" And on occasion, randomly, Spidey will actually do it, and I'll put it on like the iPad so everybody can see it. And it is just like I cease being anybody that's important to anyone, and Spidey is like instantly on the iPad, the life of the party. Everybody loves it, so there's no cringe involved whatsoever.
Listen, there could be
Anybody could.
Right? You can look at my performance and go, I don't like this. But as long as I have a standing ovation from Teller on national television And friends like Shin Lim, who will tell you that I'm the best at what I do, I don't think Derek's opinion when it comes to magic is that valuable. I mean, did he go from being did he do the opposite that I did? Did he go from being a body language expert to a magic expert? Well,
I think you're defending yourself as out of the league of what was said. We saw a video that's out of competitive mindset, and you don't need to defend that. It was not a cooperative or collaborative mindset. It's a lower maturity. Granted, it could have been something that was going on for that person, but and I will forever be a subscriber.
Oh, Chase, you're above that. But actually on that, because I know that we're getting tight on time, I've got some money that came in super chats, which I deeply, deeply appreciate.
I know it's Georgina. It's got to be Georgina.
Georgina is amazing. And yes, Georgina is definitely in here. Starting though with Madeline Noskov, who sent a super sticker. Love your avatar there. Chase should as well.
Love it.
Brains are always cool. My cat's name is Karen. I love that name. Because all cats are kind of a Karen in a way if they're a female. They sort of are. Yeah. They want to talk to the manager. You're never on time.
Thanks, Karen's mom.
So thank you very much. And then, yes, Georgina, a rock star. And I guess, I don't know, is that how she discovered me? Georgina is like one of the most reliable supporters out there. She's amazing with this channel, America's Untold Stories. Just amazing.
And the panel.
Amazing.
She's always on the panel as well.
Amazing person. I agree, Georgina. I love the behavior panel. Learned so much watching them, have the books, have so much stuff in my mind. And I'm proud to say I even helped get Scott's book featured in Netflix in a screenshot because
the famous shoulder.
Yes, while they were cutting me out, it perfectly framed Scott's book. It was a beautiful image. Let me see. So we got an expert here, Tiffany Bernier, Chase and Spidey.
Let me take a look.
A lot of face touching here.
Oh.
Not sure what's happening.
Me neither.
Georgina. Wow.
Give us your analysis.
Chase, I agree. I call it failing up. I am learning, and I find myself changing my own reactions and try not to judge someone without thinking what else could be true. Spidey, I love your openness, honesty, and great enthusiasm. By the way, Spidey, I was going to say something earlier when you were talking about that and how you're giving both sides of it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Some of the time, it's not only the other side, but it could be 10 minutes ago. And it might be 10 minutes in the future. Because it's like literally when we're looking at these things, at this point in time, this seems to be the most likely. But if you ask again in a half an hour, it might change our mind. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, new intel changes the opinion all the time, right?
Yeah. And you know what? We were doing a behavior panel video one time. I can't remember her name. But I called her like Ski Resort Barbie or something, some girl that we were profiling there. And to this day, I think about that once a day and I regret it every single day. So like the stuff like you see on YouTube, Derek may regret this already. That's why I don't think he deserves any judgment for it. Every single human being here in the chat and tuning into the live have said all kinds of stuff you regret. It just wasn't recorded. I've said tons of stuff I regret that was recorded. Somebody said I was doing a lot of face touching. My lips are so chapped that I'm embarrassed about them on a live. And I tried to blur my camera before we started here. So that's the reason for my face touching. But I think we're human beings. Like, we're here on Earth for such a short time, and we're just sit here and like bash some other human being on YouTube. I think that's ludicrous. It's ludicrous, and it's definitely not something I would want my children to see me doing. So I'm trying to teach them the opposite. I'm trying to live the opposite way. But we do have regrets. You know, we say regretful stuff on the internet. The woman that's made this video about us, I know I'm in there, apparently. She's making good, probably really good content. This is like extremely well edited. Whether or not it's accurate or not, it doesn't matter to her subscribers.
Well, I'm going to invite her on, by the way. I am going to invite her on. I've had Alder Vray on.
Yeah.
And Albert Bray is probably one of the most critical people in the world in terms of behavioral science. He's
having done some of the best research on it.
Well, he's a legit researcher. I mean, top of his game, but he's not as hard on that as he is on scan and statement analysis. And I'm going to probably try to put him with Peter Hyatt to have a debate, because I talked to Evan Noam and Avi said no, but that would be really interesting because he's extremely critical of statement analysis and specifically scan, but it would be an interesting conversation to have that one out.
There's a lot of research on statement analysis.
There's research that showed that scan does increase the odds of catching a lie, by James Driscoll.
James Pennebaker, I think.
I don't know. I mean, it is definitely used. It's taught to the FBI and everything else. Okay. Georgina, Spidey, this isn't you. This is all about him. I agree.
That's not.
Those who have gotten to know you love you. I think I just understand how all the law community is fighting for Nate the lawyer now. Yeah. And that's a great analogy. Everybody loves Nate. I can't. Rob, can you confirm that? I mean, Nate's probably one of the most popular in LawTube out there.
Yeah, and it's not because we have to agree with every decision he makes. We disagree all the time. I love disagreeing with Nate. I love disagreeing with everybody. It's one of the coolest ways to actually have a discussion that means something.
It's actually the most fun. It's more fun to disagree with Nate.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
I mean, I have a channel where I disagree with Nate. It gives me joy. Jackie Joe 15, love you all. Thank you so much. And this is really cool. A bunch of new members. CM Nelson, thank you very much. Jennifer Edwards, thank you very much. Crystal Pontac, thank you very much. And early on, Tina Nina, and I'm glad I could find that. It's Tia Nina. I think I said Tina Nina, and I didn't mean to. Tia Nina. I hate it when I get people's names wrong. And you should like that avatar.
Hey, Tia.
Spidey.
Oh, dope. Pocket aces.
And the Siam cat with 5 pounds. Thank you very much.
The Siam cat. I just said it.
No, say it again. I was talking over you.
The Siam cat is here with us all. So thanks for joining us.
And Joe Ellen, who has Charlie, cannot give dollars, but subscribes to all 4. Rob is her favorite.
Rob is my favorite too, by the way.
Rob is the favorite of a lot of ladies. Actually, you know what? I'm cheating on this stream because I have Handsome Tan Daddy and Rob on the same stream. Actually, we should put them down together. And the Spidey, you and I just can.
I've heard from 3 different websites that Rob's beard is actually pseudoscience and potentially fake.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I glue it on before every episode of everything.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
I've heard that Rob stole his beard from Nick Rekieta.
Oh, my evil twin.
All right. Well, on that happy note, with all the lumbering chat, everybody, thank you so much for checking this out. And hopefully we can continue to have the conversation and understand what body language actually is not.
It's fake.
I'm going to leave you with one thought.
Okay.
If body language is pseudoscience and there is no way to look at facial expressions to determine what someone is thinking or feeling, explain emojis and why they work.
You know what? Derek Van Schaik brought that up in that video.
Oh, did he?
I recall.
Well,
and
while
which
Eric
is the same.
Well, I was going to say, while Eric pulls these last super chats, the piggyback on that one, if body language is pseudoscience and not important, then why is there a jury instruction in every single trial that requires witnesses to get, or requires jurors to gauge credibility and have the ultimate authority of believing or not believing the person that testified? Our entire foundation and legal system is built on believability of people.
There's also a Supreme Court case of Ohio versus Terry, which is all about body language technically and movement and analysis. Hold on,
Crystal, I'm pulling up the mic just for you. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for tuning in to the Eric Hunley podcast.
Oh, I love that DJ voice. You're doing the Chris Voss late night DJ. All right. On that happy note, thank you very much.
This
If
was
you guys
fun.
like what you're seeing, subscribe. You never know who's going to show up. There could be a Chase that comes in. There could be a Spidey. There could be a Rob. You never know who's going to be here. And thank you very much.